You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper than again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fourth part of What If Naruto Meets Chaotic. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Next day, Kiru City. Maxer was reading a report from Blazer. Like Spider, he was good at getting around in the enemy's territory. He gathered some info that Naruto had battled Van Blut and won, but sad to say the man was alive. He was still extremely pissed that Van Blut stole his mother's corpse and tampered with the music Intress had given her, but the music was still in good condition, meaning his mother's soul still lived on in it. Intress had been rather upset. Najurin had informed them Unda had taken Naruto. She didn't take it well given he was under her care and she was very serious about herself as a healer. It didn't help she and Unda never got along as they first met when Intress was a child. When she first came here, when they met, Intress looked at her as if she was food and bit her. Ever since then things were heated between them. Maxer jumped in alert, seeing a blue light appear in his throne room and soon saw Naruto, and from the smell of him he was absolutely hammered, but he was bleeding slightly from his neck. Chayer's castle. Chayer chuckled, having a black eye and partially through his wall. Worth it, he thought to himself. Can someone please kill me? I think I'm dying and I don't want to wait. Hearing said from the chandelier in the throne room. Kaz was a little scared. He saw things last night. Chayer had ordered him to teleport Naruto to Kiru City after he was nice and drunk, which was all night as he kept drinking. Nevena challenged Naruto in her own drunken state to an all-out fist fight. The two waited for no one. Takinom had watched, commenting how Naruto never seemed to stop fighting, which resulted in a comment from Scythia, who was there to attend on behalf of Van Blut, as Chayer offered him an invitation after his defeat. Krek was an idiot, so she volunteered in order to spy on Naruto for information. Flashback last night. After Naruto had won, Nevena began congratulating him. She then did something no one expected. She bit his shoulder. I'm not gonna get a tattoo, am I? Was Naruto's response, remembering Orochimaru biting Sasuke. How dare you? Takinom said angrily. Everyone took a step back as Takinom and Nevena were close, more often seen as sisters than with Intress. They prayed for Naruto as she was defensive of Nevena. You. Takinom said, looking at Nevena. Her cheeks flushed and she stood a bit wobbly. I was going to mark him as my mate, she said, grabbing him quickly and biting the exposed part of his neck. No one knew if Takinom was drunk or jealous as she did this. You where's? Scythia said before biting his neck as well. Hey you. Chayer said, looking at Omer. Is it possible for humans to breed with creatures? He asked curiously. Omer looked confused and then nervous before saying, maybe. Good enough for me. Chayer said as Naruto was a potential asset, he assumed his children would solidify his place here, so in the end he'd win him with the females fighting for his affection. Flashback end. The fighting for Naruto continued for about an hour when he got bored and tried to separate them. Nevena punched him in the eye and then he was blasted by Scythia and Takinom, sending him through a few walls. Scythia grabbed Agitos and used him as a blunt weapon. Takinom in kind used Omer as her weapon. Nevena, stuck with so few options, chose Kaz as her own, throwing him quickly. Kaz felt all kinds of sore, and when he awoke, Chayer told him to help Naruto get to Kiru as his blonde friend was both still very much awake and still drunk. With Naruto. Atacat, help us. Intress said, holding Naruto down in a vine snare, while her fellow feline was laughing his tail off. Naruto upon his arrival was approached by Maxer, only for the leader to be thrown through a wall. Many guards came in and fired at Naruto, but even in his drunken state he was a force to be reckoned with. He jumped out the window and flung himself back in, landing in another room, or more accurately a shower, with Nevena's sister. Chaos soon happened after that as Naruto was blasted at and the shy screaming of Ivena was heard through the castle. Intress, Tanguth, and Atacat came to see what the commotion was about. Naruto, having been sent through a wall himself, punched Tanguth thinking he punched him, followed by numerous jabs and punches they threw at each other. Maxer soon arrived and told them what happened, but they could have guessed from the smell of him. Ivana soon came fully dressed and blasted Naruto, her normally red skin looking redder. Intress asked what had happened and she explained. She was a little ticked off but assumed Naruto just landed in her shower by chance given he was being shot at. Now she had him in a vine snare. 6 hours later. Underworld booze huh? Maxer asked Naruto, who was waking up as he was hanging upside down in his throne room. Yeah. Naruto said to him, I swear if you put a match in my mouth right now I think I'll ignite, he said to him. Maxer chuckled as while preferring the booze of his homeland, underworld booze was a bit harsher on one's body and did have a little bite to it. So how much damage? Naruto asked him as when he got drunk things got weird. Besides my walls, nothing. Maxer said believing the attack Ivana shot at him to be punishment enough. Oh, also Intress is furious with you, he said in amusement. The hell did I do? Naruto asked him curiously. Besides see her prized student naked. Maxer thought as if it was anyone else, he'd be cleaning a massive stain off his walls. You remarked, he said to him seeing his confusion. What like for death? Naruto asked, having been told that a lot. Maxer was silent, a little unsure how to tell him this. Naruto, what happened to your neck? He asked him, wanting to start out small. Naruto was curious as he cut himself free and felt his neck feeling like he had been bit. Ow the hell, he asked himself, did someone try and eat me? He said in anger. Given where Naruto was last night, Maxer guessed that wasn't too far off the mark. No, listen Naruto. Female creatures have a way of marking a potential mate, they bite. The more animalistic ones bite their potential mate. It's rare for non-animal ones to take part, but it does happen, he said as it was an old custom but still in circulation. Naruto followed most of that. Okay, so any idea who bit me? He asked him curiously. Maxer roared with laughter hearing that. Lucky for you, Intress recognized one of the scents, he said, saying lucky with a hint of mirth. Takinom, he said to him. Oh crp, I am a dead man. Naruto said to himself. Be a dead man somewhere where my castle isn't the battleground. Intress had to leave after your appearance. Maxer said, not telling him Krek was seen in the forest of life. Naruto had too many encounters with Van Blut for the man to leave him be, and he wanted his shot at the creature for what he did. Gojo's tower. Van Blut was enraged, his plan had failed, and he lost to the human whom he thought was dead. What was worse was that he couldn't even blame Takinom as Naruto fell to his death in his presence. At least I got what I needed, he thought, picking up a bone of meat that Chire ate from when he came here. He tossed it in the pot of bubbling liquid. Power of music already sung, he said, taking some power from Maxer's mother's music. Flesh of a soulless magician, he said, having taken the most smallest of pieces of Maxer's mother's flesh to complete this, and finally essence of a tribal leader. He said as he watched the cauldron bubble and soon a music rose from it. Your time is coming, Chire, and not only will I be ruler of the underworld, I shall be the one to destroy Maxer, he said, laughing maniacally. Glumuk Swamp. Naruto scanned Maxer for Intress and read his stats. He's lost his courage, he said, showing her Tom's Maxer card. His courage was 40 now, but normally it was 100. So the music drains his courage? Intress asked, wondering why it was lasting so long. This might be the dark song music Nagerin said Van Blut was making. Naruto said to her. Then it might be worse than Maxer losing just his courage. Those musics are heavy in toll on the target. Intress said as this was much worse. Wait here, she said to him as she went inside, and after a few moments she came back with a scroll. This is a document stating you'll be given the rank of lieutenant for a temporary time till Maxer returns, she said to him simply. Wait, back up, why am I being made part of the overworld army? Naruto asked. Even if temporary, it sounded like a lot to ask for. Ivana is currently in charge of the internal matters of Kiru City. While her teachers have been given more responsibility, she has no one to help her. Intress said as her student was a soldier and knew how to act in battle. Politics on the other hand was another battlefield entirely. Naruto sighed, not sure how he'd be much help, but nodded. Now, about Takinom. Intress said as her palm ignited. Naruto poured it out faster than most chaotic players. Kiru City. Ivana was annoyed as she was forced to work alongside Naruto. She was still miffed about him seeing her in all her glory, and even though he didn't remember it, it still bothered her. Her teacher put him as her advisor while she and Maxer were away. Ivana, please pay attention. Rasnes said to her as they were going over negotiations with the Danians. Ivana was brought out of her own head as she went over the scroll. She has no idea what any of that means, does she? Naruto asked Rasnes. Queen Alexia speaks more cordially than most. Rasnes said to him with a chuckle. They are asking for access to the Jurgith Springs? Ivana asked him. Yes, I mentioned it in passing. It is near the border but more in line with our territory. Rasnes said to her. I've been there. Naruto said as it gave 10 energy to overworlders and knew it was a place of healing. Seems like a small ask. I mean, it's a place of healing, he said as it was an out-of-the-way location, plus I doubt the Danians are crazy enough to harm a location, he said to them. Exactly, the Danians are well aware of what harming a location can do. The overworld often allows them the use of one of our caretakers. Rasnes said to them. Why? Naruto asked, never seeing the Danians mistreat their home, and wondered if it was a natural thing. They stockpile much garbage and sometimes something stems from it. Rasnes said to him, having talked to the queen about more safe and disposable methods. I am not sure if we should grant the request. Ivana said to them, for years Maxer has negotiated with them. Rasnes, are we sure answering their needs without getting something in return is wise? She asked him. She makes a point. Naruto said, surprising Rasnes, I'm not saying deny it outright, I'm just saying that with this neutral peace that has been maintained for years, there should be more open discussions like for trade, he said to him. Ivana sent him an appreciative nod. Well, what would we ask of them? Rasnes asked him curiously. Mount Pillar is near the Forest of Life and the Riverlands, right? Naruto asked them curiously, getting some nods. Well, why not ask them for help with those lands? After Dractyl's mess up with the chaotic player helping Maxer, maybe more hands on deck would be better, he said to them. That is an agreeable term. Rasnes said as the queen would be using more of her troops, as some of them were apparently thinking of going on strike to the Mandiblores, but we need to prepare for any additional requests of them, he said to them. The Riverlands produces an abundance of water that leads here, and there are a few lakes near the land as well. We can give them access to one of the lakes, barring the ones that lead to the overworld locations and city. Naruto said as having just one source of water was dangerous if ever contaminated. That seems like an agreeable compromise. I shall look into it with Blazer. Rasnes said to them before he left. You actually seem competent at this? Ivana said in confusion as he didn't seem the type. Trust me, I've seen enough people be screwed over by politics. Naruto said to her. Next day. You do realize until this job is over I am technically your boss, right? Naruto asked Bodil, who failed to realize this as he berated Naruto for not showing up lately. Ivana smirked. It was rare to see Bodil tense in fear when he realized that he was running his mouth at or near his superior. The two were checking over the battle gear, making sure that everything was accounted for and everything was in tip-top shape. 1 hour later. Naruto and Ivana were having a non-verbal mental communication, both asking the other to kill them as they listened to Hune Marquardt speak about the advances in their music and their techniques. He went on about his own contributions and that he could see they had a decent grasp of his genius, insulting Naruto by just saying even though he was human he saw the brilliance in his talents. He even allowed Naruto to scan him like it was such an honor. Naruto read over his stats. It did not surprise him he had less wisdom than Bodil, but what impressed him was he gained a music counter for each Danny music played. He found that odd given the man was a bug himself. He was curious enough to ask. Many creatures betray their tribes. An ancestor of mine was Danny true, but I was born and raised here. Believe it or not, I am not always a bug. Like some creatures I have the ability to shift. Hune Marquardt said, changing from bug to bird. Are you related to Frafdo? Naruto asked as it would explain so much of why he was so annoying to him. Not to my knowledge, no. Hune Marquardt said to him before changing back to a bug. As annoying as he is, his ability is no joke. Naruto thought as it be useful to use against Danian players as he would all but double his magicians for every one his opponent played. Later that day. Okay, I need to ask, why are you so crazy when drunk? Ivana asked as she and Naruto were having dinner. I don't know. Naruto said as that was a good question, believe it or not that was the second time I got drunk, the first was with Atacat, he said to her. Ivana looked at him as if he had grown two heads, he had been drunk twice and started all-out fights both times, note to self, keep him away from anything alcoholic, she thought to herself. Next day. You've gotten faster. Atacat said as he attacked Naruto in a hand-to-hand combat spar. More like you've gotten slower. Naruto said smiling each time their fists made contact. Both warriors were training before the sun came up both. Being early risers. 1 hour later. So the City of Elements? Atacat asked having heard from Najurin. Yeah. Naruto said to him not sure what else to say. Who are you training with now? Atacat asked curiously. Sirin. Naruto said to him as Atacat gave a look of sympathy. Even by underworld standards, he's harsh. Atacat said to him, learn anything, he asked him. Mostly surviving. Naruto said to him as his training sessions were doing harsh hoods on his body, he could barely stand the lava lands, but Sirin's training ground was in the same, but somehow more intense, he had to see Unda often to hydrate. Fire is a hard element to MSTR, the underworlders have an easier time because the underworld has many fiery locations. Atacat said as the exposure helped the creatures develop more to their environment. Naruto paused for a second and wondered if that was why Sirin was so harsh, he was forcing his body to adapt. Sylve had been right when she said he couldn't force the wind to do what he wanted, he had to guide it, let it go, and to stop being afraid. He had used wind chakra and the Nine Tails said while he was powerful and good at using its more raw and bare state he still needed to refine it as while blowing gusts of wind was useful being able to cut an enemy on contact with his hands than a blade seemed more useful. Ivana listened closely as she was hidden from them, she had studied with Najurin having met Unda before, to hear Naruto was training with her fellow elementals was a shock as elementals rarely interacted with people outside their elementally aligned tribe. Few hours later. The hell are you supposed to do with hot air? The Nine Tails said in annoyance as his host was making fires small ones that fit in the palm of his hands, but still flames regardless. I don't know, aren't you supposed to teach me? Naruto said in annoyance. The Nine Tails looked at him flatly and then puffed out literal hot air as he let out a small amount of flames. Fire is alive, most fire techniques need a catalyst, the Nine Tails said as one could breathe fire, summon it forth, or even generate heat to ignite the air around the user. Fire needs to burn, something to burn, or heat to give it strength. When I breathe fire, I ignite the air in my lungs and pushed it all out. I am a literal flamethrower, he said as that was a half-truth. He also applied wind to his breath of flames, but he didn't need his host to igniting his own lungs with wind chakra. Killing the both of them. The Nine Tails was a bit perplexed with his host. Ever since they made the arrangement to kill Aan, he had been less tense around him, the fear non-existent. He listened to him unlike that Mito and his pain in the butt mother. Naruto's ability to sense emotions stemmed from him. The boy was bathed in his chakra and even if he wasn't sealed in the boy, he was likely to have it. But he sensed nothing of the emotions he felt when he had his previous hosts. Naruto was more genuine, idiotic yes. But genuine. Seeing these creatures and Naruto learning about war beasts through Sylve gave him a little perspective given these creatures weren't human and even the war beasts which were similar to his kind. The Nine Tails watched Naruto more closely more actively. His host hadn't changed from the same idiot he was as a child. In truth he wasn't sure if that was good or bad. He honestly saw Naruto less as human and more like the creatures of this world, and more like himself. As the strongest tailed beast, he was alone. He wanted nothing but freedom and his peace. Naruto being the only one of his kind fit in with neither humans or creatures, he was an outcast, but he pushed forward regardless and found in others what he didn't have before. Let's see how far you shall go, he thought still set in his ways wanting to see how far Naruto could go. Next day. You should look into getting a blade, you seem to work better with them than a blaster. Tanguy said to Naruto as they were sparring. He noticed Naruto favored small knives and more physical battle gear, but not blasters. I've thought about it, but I'm not sure what fits me. Naruto said as he had seen many blades here in HAREM. Overworlders and underworlders favored broadswords, Mypedian scimitars, and Dannian blades were close to katanas, and to make matters slightly difficult weapons weren't allowed at chaotic, none whatsoever. Battle gear never made it into the port court along with music, but players could transport through HAREM with it. His kunai were an exception in some ways. He kept them hidden and made them at chaotic. Krellin and Hotek knew but told him to never take it out in chaotic, which he agreed, especially since he would never need to use them there, but some things made it through pocket knives, shapened keys, shivs, Swiss army blades, the works, as the system allowed almost everything through. Ivana watched from a distance. Tanguy was no stranger with a blade, his own always at his side. Not many could say they could keep pace with him in that form of combat. She felt a bit jealous Naruto was able to keep pace with so many of her instructors and had much of their respect. She worked for years to earn that. It made her feel small in a way. Next day. The music is starting to affect his other attributes. Naruto said as it slowed down on his courage with it being 20 now, but he lost 5 points to the other disciplines. Okay, enough coddling, time for some reality, he said, walking up to Maxer and punched him in the face. Intress had to forcibly stop herself from moving as Naruto sent her a look to not interfere. Listen, this macho bravado CRP is killing you. What happens when you lose all your powers? I'll tell you, you'll die. Naruto said, giving him another smack. This will be for nothing. Call Najurin and let him help you, dumbass, or you will die, he said, as he wasn't kidding. If this music was zapping him of his strength, it might drain him till there was nothing left. If you were half the man I met, you'd have punched me in the face. Lacking courage doesn't make you a coward. Choosing to just sit there and take it is what makes you a coward, he said, walking out. Intress helped Maxer up and went outside as she needed to check the perimeter, and the moment she did, Naruto was there sitting on a branch above the bog. Pride can get him killed, we both know that. Naruto said as it was one of the many reasons Sasuke wanted to join Orochimaru. Intress agreed. Seeing Maxer like this, someone she grew up looking up to, was hard. While her greatest friend, he was also her family, which made acting against his wishes hard. How is my student? She asked curiously. Stalking me, Naruto said to her, explaining to her he sensed her as he trained. She has always had a curious nature. Intress said, not mentioning how she and her sister met. She is hard-headed, she said to him. Aren't we all? Naruto said to her before taking out his scanner. Make sure King Idiot sees his doctor or I'll come back and drag his butt to Najurin, he said as Intress chuckled. Kiru City. Naruto had made it back to the castle, having been here long enough for the guards to call him sir. That's depressing, he thought to himself, never thinking he'd be leader material. Even though he wanted to be Hokage, he thought he'd learn along the way. Naruto was brought out of his thoughts as he got a call from Kaz. Talk to me, Naruto said to him, before noticing Kaz was at his place. Why are you in my cabin? He asked him. We were looking for you. Where have you been? Enga said. Off-screen, very annoyed. I've been busy on a job at the moment. Naruto said to them. And who else is there? He asked them. Hey, Naruto. Tom said as he waved at his friend. Dude, the hell have you been? Naruto asked as Tom seemed to be having bad luck relying on the Maxer scan he got. Things haven't been going well without my old Maxer scan. I was thinking about not coming back, but Kaz here decided to drag me back. We're gonna go looking for Maxer, Tom said to him. Naruto gave them a false lead. He hated lying to them, but it was best to send them on a wild goose chase till Maxer was healed. Tom gave his thanks and ported out as he was the only one to have a location of that spot, but Kaz and Enga didn't. If he was lucky, Tom would stay there for a few days till Najurin had this sorted out. Naruto soon got a call from Castella. Hey, he said to her. Hey, need you to break a tiebreaker for me and some. Castella said to him. Which is better, boys or girls? She asked him. Easy, neither. Naruto said to her flatly, having met enough strong women in his life to know there is no weaker SEC. Listen, what a person has or doesn't have doesn't make them stronger or weaker, it's just a waste of time, he said to her. He's a credit to his gender, Sarah said off screen. So mind telling me what the Battle of the Segas was about? Naruto asked them, getting informed about what happened in the Mind F about Peyton playing as female creatures and Christella playing as male creatures. My point still stands, he said to them before hanging up, not getting involved further. Few hours later. Almost reminds me of home. Naruto thought on the Kira city wall. He often sat on the fort's head and watched the sunset. You know, as a warrior, you should really work on that armor rubbing against your thighs, he said, as it was subtle but even he could hear it. Ivana paused and lost a step, almost tripping. I was wondering if we could spar, she asked him. Alright, what are the rules? Naruto asked her. No rules. Ivana said as they left the city, but was still in sight of the walls. 1 hour later. Can I ask you something? Ivana asked, having some scrapes and bruises and a bloody nose. Shoot, and I mean that figuratively. Naruto said, half joking half serious, his arm a little cooked from their spar. I've been training since Intress took me in. You seem so far beyond me. How long have you been training? Ivana asked, wondering what separated them. Difficult question. I have been developing my attacks since I was like 10. Naruto said, as he meant learning chakra, but physically 5 years, he said, as even when he was in his funk about being here, he never stopped training his body and had mastered using the rasengan with one hand. In all honesty, maybe this was good for him. So you've been training longer than I have? Ivana said flatly. Speaking of, and I don't mean this to be impolite, but how old are you? Hell, how old are some of the people I know? Naruto asked, as while human-sized and shaped, not all creatures here aged the same, some aged quickly, and some aged slowly. If he had to make a comparison, it would be Rasnus aged like a dog in a way, as he aged more rapidly than a normal human would've. He sounded like a grandfather, but Maxer was the same age. Nadrin was blue and looked human, but he was older than pretty much everything. I am 16, Intress is 19, Maxer is 28. Ivana said, listing off the ages of people he knew. Wait, back up, you're 16? Naruto asked her, as he found that hard to believe, as she was very developed for 16. Yes. Ivana said, not knowing why he found that odd. How old are you? She asked, telling him she turned 16 days before he arrived. Naruto was silent, as his birthday was not something that brought happy memories. He brought out his scanner, seeing it was midnight, but stopped as he saw the date, October 10th. I'm 16 now, today's my birthday, he said to her. Ivana, while an orphan, saw the look in Naruto's eyes. It reminded her of many orphans. They walked back to the castle in silence. Morning. Naruto woke up to the sound of his scanner ringing. He answered, hearing Tom telling him he just battled Codemaster Krellin. It took Naruto a moment to process that and then shot up, asking for details. It wasn't an official match, at least not technically. Naruto said, as Codemaster automatically challenged players after 7 wins in their dromes, but Tom had 2 or 3 wins if he remembered right. Yeah, I remember you said you met him, but did he give you sarcasm? Tom asked him. No. Naruto said simply, Codemasters wouldn't allow it. He gave me Ursus and another scan, but not Prexer, he said to him, explaining he had to earn that scan in a Codemaster match. Tom nodded and then hung up the call. Naruto called Krellin not a moment later. I thought Codemasters couldn't track players, he asked him. We can't, but your friends aren't very subtle. I saw Tom was in the dumps and decided to give him a push. Kit said to him. I really need to teach those guys to be more stealthy. Naruto thought, as running their mouths and assuming no one heard them was extremely dumb. Believe me, I was not spying. Also, happy birthday, Naruto. Krellin said to him with a smile. Naruto appreciated that, as Krellin celebrated his 14th and 15th birthday with him. It was nice to have someone like that in his life. He said goodbye and told him they'd meet up later. Krellin nodded before making a call to Naruto's friends, telling them some juicy information. 1 hour later. I thought I broke your nose. What happened? Naruto asked Ivana curiously, as she seemed in perfect condition. I used a song of resurgence. Ivana said to him, having needed to heal herself after their spar. Can I make a request? She asked him curiously. Sure. Naruto said to her. Can you train me? Ivana asked him. My training can't be done here in a city, sparring is too clean. Naruto said as training got violent and a lot could go wrong, sparring was where there were set limits for people to follow. I asked Rasnus, he will be here for a few days. Ivana said as Rasnus said trading was going well and he needed to officiate some things with other people. 1 hour later. Why have us come all the way to the Riverlands? Ivana asked him curiously. Because fire is weaker here and you only have one element, but I have a trick to teach you. Naruto said to her, telling her about an extremely useful attack Ursus had. Ivana watched as Naruto scanned her. Okay, you meet the requirements. Naruto said to her, there is an attack that gives you an element, the earth element, it's called Arbor Smash, he said, explaining it in depth. Ivana was excited as this attack sounded amazing. She wondered why it wasn't more commonly known, but didn't care. Apparently one needed high courage to pull it off and she met the target marker by that and a half as her courage was 75 and the requirement was 50. 2 hours later. Well, at least we know you can make firewood. Naruto said to her as she had been trying to use Arbor Smash with limited success. And you said this Ursus could fire a log? Ivana asked him in surprise, looking at the pile of sticks she made. No wonder this technique is lost, she said to herself. Lost? Naruto asked her curiously. Not all techniques can be mastered in one word, some have even been lost to time. It surprised me when something like Arbor Smash was lost as it was an attack that gave an element. Creatures need to train in order to use an attack. Having an element makes it easier. True, but it takes us some time for even an attack we know. Ivana said, knowing he had trained differently than them and had to learn his own way. Naruto thought to himself for a moment. Heptad, does he know a lost technique? He asked her. Ivana went silent. Playing dumb usually works best. Being silent all but confirms it. Naruto said to her, I used Heptad once and used an attack of bright powerful light and I have zero clue what it was, he said to her. It was Armageddon. Ivana said, seeing he had no frame or reference, it is an extremely powerful attack, only the leaders of the tribes know them, along with a few exceptions, she said, explaining Hotan and Heptad as Hotan discovered the power all on his own. Hotan doesn't have any elements, and he destroyed an entire village. Naruto asked, wondering how that was possible. Najiran investigated the place where Hotan discovered it. Apparently it was an ancient site, where a Muge long since past placed the attack to be discovered by someone. Najiran said it was possible Hotan gained the strength of the person who sealed the attack to perform Armageddon to its peak. Ivana said as it was stronger than Maxer's and weaker than Heptad's. Naruto was a little scared now, wondering if he'd be able to do something like that. Well, again, he thought as the fox told him the positive and negative energy between him and Sasuke fueled by their individual powers was why he ended up here. He wondered if Armageddon was like that, a collision of powers. There may be someone we can ask. Ivana said, sounding reluctant. 2 hours later. This is awful. Naruto thought as the negativity coming from Hotan was suffocating, it made him feel like his situation paled to Hotan's. Leave him. Ivana said as she explained on the way here. Hotan saw this as his penance. Naruto ignored her and made a couple dozen clones. This thankfully won't give me headaches, he thought to himself as he used this to help rebuild the leaf. The first time Orochimaru attacked, his clones went to help the large owl creature. Ivana was silent and sent him an appreciative nod. You must be Naruto, Najiran has spoken of you. Vidav said, floating near them. Does everyone in Harem know who I am? Naruto asked. No one in particular. They explained the situation. A lost attack that gives someone an element. Yes, I can see how this would be tricky. Vidav said to them. You should ask him, he said, pointing at Naruto. Excuse me? Naruto asked him as he and Ivana were lost. My boy, do you know what separates us? Vidav asked him curiously. One of us has a tail. Naruto said, unsurely, getting a laugh from the white tiger. No, I once visited Najiran and he let me see your sealing notes. Vidav said to him, the difference between us is not our power, but merely our language, he said to him. Wait, back up, are you saying my seals and music are like sibling arts? Naruto asked as he took a couple of swings at it, trying to decipher it and even tried learning the written language. Naruto gave him a hand with that, transferring the basics of the writings. He was slowly getting it. Yes, isn't it fascinating? Vidav said in rare excitement, his tail wagging as well. Okay, back up, what does this have to do with Ivana and Arbor Smash? Naruto asked as while interesting he'd like the information he came here for. Oh, that's simple. Have you tried having her use an earth attack after she used this? Vidav asked as both Naruto and Ivana gave each other a long hard look. Arbor Smash. Ivana said as a stick a foot long shot out. Pebble Storm, she yelled, following through, and a few pebbles shot out of her chest, embedding themselves on a tree. While this attack may be generic, it also may reflect on your own potential for the earth element if you truly learn it. Remember, knowledge is power, but experience is the truest teacher. Vidav said as this was a shortcut, a useful shortcut, but still one all the same. Few minutes later. Well, we now have some useful information. Naruto said to Ivana. My potential for earth is laughable. Ivana asked him sarcastically. Ursus can fire a log and all I fire is sticks, she said as that was laughable. Actually, I think it might be something else. Ursus has always had the earth element. When I was with him, he only told me he gained earth element using Arbor Smash. Maybe having the earth element makes it stronger, but to truly gain it, the spell trains your body. I mean, this is the first stick you fired, fire another. Naruto said to her as she did as he told her. He picked it up and gave her the new one and the first one. Ivana compared them and saw that the new stick was thicker and longer compared to the other. She thought to herself. Maybe Ursus used this when he was trying to learn the earth element, but it became unneeded. Naruto said to her. So if I keep training with Arbor Smash, I'll learn earth attacks? Ivana asked him. I think you need to use earth attacks too. I feel kinda dumb we were trying to perfect an attack we couldn't have. Naruto said to her. Not as dumb as I feel. Ivana thought as she was a creature, she should have known that. It's still your birthday, I say I owe you a drink, she said as she wanted to see Naruto drunk in full action. 1 hour later. Hard to believe those two are in charge. Atakat said to Tanguth as Ivana told them it was Naruto's birthday. Rasnus made him this. Tanguth said, holding up a white metal music necklace like the one Rasnus wore. Najiran was here and offered a Muge's cloak. Atakat said, wondering how Najiran knew at all, and he also brought a gift from Maxer and Intress. He said as it was more clothing, he saw it was similar to the robes Maxer wore, except it was black and not red, and it had a swirl on the back along with orange tiger-like marks on the side. It also came with matching black combat pants. I saved him a room in the castle. Tanguth said to him. Maxer rarely lets people stay there. Atakat said to him. Yeah, well, I think he'll make an exception for him. The kid is strong and has done a lot, plus I used one of the more empty rooms. Tanguth said as Ivana told him she believed Naruto to be an orphan. That explained so much to him, the way he moved, the way he acted. It reminded him of Intress. She was similar, but she had been rescued when she began letting people in again. With Naruto, he believed people had only been getting in recently. For him, it was an injustice to the child who was forced into becoming a man. They both watched as Frafdo, who was drunk, walk over to Naruto. 20 seconds later. Am I this bad when I'm drunk? Naruto asked her curiously as Frafdo was now unconscious. He made a pass at Ivana and tried to punch him, but as if working in tandem, Naruto and Ivana both dodged and punched him in synchronized succession, sending him to the ground. No, I mean you cause chaos, but you're not, this. Ivana said, feeling she had a much better grasp on Naruto now that she was drinking with him, but Frafdo was an idiot, a bigger idiot than usual at least. Wanna have some fun with him? Naruto asked her, seeing her raise a brow. 5 minutes later. Naruto and Ivana were laughing hysterically as Frafdo was hanging upside down in the barracks in front of the troops, strppd of all his feathers in nothing but his underwear. So are you having fun? Ivana asked curiously, wondering if she was good company. Yep. Naruto said honestly as he had few birthdays he'd count as fun, this was one of them. Ivana smiled, good, now I have a few bottles stashed away in the castle, Cat was a bad influence on me as well, she said as they shared a laugh. Next morning. Well, this is different. Naruto thought seeing himself inside someone else's room. He saw he was partially naked wearing just his underwear, but what really caught his attention was the mop of blue hair and red skin currently on top of his body. He remembered he and Ivana began drinking in the castle, exchanging war stories with each other, talking about more training and their individual training methods. He did find it interesting and saw ways he could improve. He even got some tips for learning the fire element from her, so next time he saw Siren it would be better. It got hazy after that, but all he could remember was fun. Ivana soon began to stir, and when she opened her eyes, she realized she was on top of someone. Her crimson skin became even redder and then realized where they were. Why are we in Intress' room? She asked in surprise. Naruto chuckled as this just got more awkward. They smelled like a bar and he was almost positive Intress would kill him or both of them and then bring him back to life, just so she could do it over again. 1 hour later. What is this wondrous drink? Ivana said in pure bliss as Naruto brought her a pick-me-up. Coffee. Naruto said to her as he poured it to Chaotic. Wonder if I could grow plants here. He thought to himself as it wouldn't be hard and hell he could trade them. He loaded Ivana's with pretty much everything sweet, cinnamon, milk, sugar, and some other things he heard Kaz and Tom order that made Sarah question their health choices. It is amazing. Ivana said as it was as if it came from the Kothika itself. Both realized that they didn't have SEC after an awkward check. Naruto told her he would be going to check on Maxer, getting a nod from Ivana, and the moment he arrived he was run into by Intress and landed in swamp muck. And I just got these, he thought, as while he was never vain about fashion, he was appreciative of gifts and tried to take care of them. Maxer's gone. Intress said to him in urgency. Naruto and Intress ran in urgency to find him, but sadly, Maxer was nowhere to be found. What made it worse was that this location made it impossible to make tracks, so tracking him by his prints wasn't an option. Tell me what happened. Naruto asked her, curious to what happened while he was gone. Intress explained what happened and who came to them. Idiots. Naruto thought to himself as Tom and Kaz were here and Tom got a new Maxer scan. He battled Krellin not too long ago. Guess the lesson didn't stick, he thought to himself as he was not one to talk as he often disregarded a lot of his lessons. Naruto checked his scanner and saw Tom was in a chaotic match with Maxer. He told Intress he would go to Tom as Tom might know where Maxer was going, best case scenario, and she went to inform Nadrin. 1 hour later. Maxer is being affected by music? Tom asked in surprise. Yeah, what exactly did you see? Naruto asked as Maxer described it as a waking nightmare. Tom did the same. Guess we got little choice, he said to him. Tom, have you ever heard of chaotic creature shock? He asked him, seeing his lack of response. Sometimes certain creatures have limits and so do the players using them. If pushed it can affect the player. Tom, I think we need to put Maxer in a drone battle, but I think we need his courage to be 0, he said to him. Okay, but wait, what does chaotic creature shock? Tom asked, getting a nod. What does that have to do with anything? He asked him. Tom, Maxer is terrified. If we want to know anything we need to push him to the edge so you can remember. Naruto said to him, if your courage is 0, Tom, you'll be afraid of your own shadow, you'll be experiencing schizophrenia, he said to him, and I'm not sure what kind of backlash it could have on you. You could develop the condition yourself, he said, as that was the pure truth. Krellin had told him there were special creatures that people could scan, but the risks and rewards they had were sometimes risky on one's mind. Clay was a perfect example. He was a PP when coming to chaotic, and when he began using Van Blut he got worse. Some creatures have more of an effect on people than they realized. If it's to help Maxer, I'm in. Tom said bravely. However long it would last was up to him. Beta Drome. The Forest of Life is the location, and I'll be using Van Blut. Naruto said, placing Van Blut as his creature of choice as Tom picked Maxer. Few minutes later. Ember Swarm. Van Blut said, firing at Maxer. He equipped Van Blut's sickle, now making Maxer at 0 courage. Be very afraid, Maxer, as I take everything from you, he said, talking out his, but as with no recent scan of Van Blut he was only stuck with fragmented memories of his dealings. Van Blut used the music he had been trying to acquire, but that's all Naruto knew of what the winged pain knew from that point. Maxer was running away in terror. He tripped and tried firing back at Van Blut in the sky. With the others. "Hey, what's happening to Tom's energy?" Enga asked, seeing Maxer's energy decrease at a steady pace. Tom and Kaz filled them in on what was happening. "It's a heart attack, idiots." Christella said at a nearby table, "Stress is bad for a person literally. Maxer has zero courage and it's taking its literal toll on him," she said as she made a deal with Naruto earlier, and honesty she profited the most. After this match Tom would give her the Maxer scan which she would sell to a chaotic player, and given how dumb some people were it'd be easy. She would however show it to Van Blut to gather information, asking for scans as a trade-off. It would alert Van Blut to the music he used was working, but that was a small gamble to make. "And how would you know that?" Kaz asked, wondering where she got her facts from. "Happened to Draktyl." Christella said, explaining how Draktyl, Fear Valley, and a music making his courage zero made the bird go insane in code from fear and terror. "Hey, why does my bro even hang with you? He has a fine blonde girl right here." Peyton said, still not liking her. "Two things. One, we do good business together and he knows how to get on people's good side too. Maybe your blonde friend isn't enough, maybe he likes brunettes better." Christella said, confidently walking away, waiting for Tom. "Peyton, which blonde were you referring to?" Enga asked, as she and Sarah were pretty close with Naruto, but she now wondered which was closest. Sarah was interested as well and waited for his response. "Well, he's close with you, right? I thought you two were dating." Peyton asked her, not entirely sure. "I thought he was dating Sarah, she's nicer to him." Kaz said, giving her a blank stare as she glared at him as she couldn't deny it. Both girls were deep in thought about that. Enga was told recently about Naruto's origins and had to prove it. Both were pretty chill about it, but they wondered what it'd be like to date someone like Naruto. Exciting would be the best word, considering both girls often found danger of their own. Naruto's home. "Dude, you look like you had a heart attack," Naruto said as Tom was sweating from Maxer's fear. Christella was bitter as that scan was deadly. Without being pushed it all right, but one trip to Fear Valley and the player could wind up like Tom. They still made the trade as she had to show Van Blut something, but her conscience, something she thought she lacked, was against using it. At least she'd get all the scans from Van Blut she wanted. "Gotta say, nice digs," she said as she was impressed. Naruto didn't tell her everything, something she respected in the more shadier aspect of their partnership. Naruto had little choice in bringing her along as she was waiting outside for them for the trade, but Tom nearly collapsed outside the door. Letting him go home was a no-go, given the stress would travel with him like when he overexerted his clones, and that wasn't adding the fact the Earth Tom might have had his own stress. "Thanks," Tom said blandly, giving him a dry look. "Van Blut used decomposition on Maxer," he said to him. "At least I have a reference now," Naruto thought to himself. Few minutes later, Gojo's tower. "So, you can transform into anyone?" Christella asked as Naruto rearranged all his features and aspects. He quickly changed into her for a second. "So cool. Wait, how exact is that?" she asked, wondering if he could see and know everything about a person he transformed into. "Anything under the clothes is a mystery, like hidden tattoos or BRTH marks, all that. It's an exact copy with limits. For it to be exact, I'd have to know the person's body on an NTMT level." Naruto said to her, "Listen, I hate myself for showing my cards, but I am kinda low on options," he said to her, as if what Tom experienced was anything. Maxer himself was a ticking time bomb for a heart attack. They made it inside and Van Blut greeted them. He laughed when Christella told him the music was working, but he wondered why it wasn't working on him. "If you have more of the music, we could scan it for you," Naruto asked him, as he wondered if Van Blut had any information they could use to help Maxer. Christella brightened, as that would be a cool music to have, making her enemy weaker by the second. "As luck would have it, I do have a second one," Van Blut said as Naruto internally tensed. Van Blut brought them to the music, and the music in description wasn't impressive and revealed nothing else. "Hopefully he's as dumb as he looks," Naruto thought, having stolen decomposition, switching it with one of Van Blut's other music. "Lake Kenaipa." "Thank you," Najirin said to Naruto as he gave him the music. why do you feel so angry around Tom? Naruto asked him curiously. Nejirin was silent. The boy was an empath, so he should have guessed. He'd figure it out. I can't tell you, as you will know soon enough, he said to him. I swear I thought Raiden was a headache. Naruto said as he used Raiden to collect memories on what the creature knew, but it was all scattered. He could hardly make any sense of it all. We met before, haven't we? He asked him. Yes and no. Nejirin said to him, we met in passing. Tom was the only one I spoke to and we only met twice, he said to him. I'm guessing when this time CRP happens I'll be trying to avoid you. Naruto said to him, can I ask you something? With this, is destiny real? He asked him. No. Nejirin said to him, take Song of True Sight, the future can forever be rewritten, and while the past is set in stone it can still change. Raiden himself told you that he never met you, yet something changed, he said, having some encounters with that particular Muge. Naruto nodded as that was better than the CRP Raiden gave him. Listen, we need to speed this up. Any ideas how? He asked him curiously. With the music and its name my research will go faster, but the answer will take time. For now it may do us well if you stay close to the underworld. Nejirin said to him, if Van Bloot moves we need to know about it, he said to him. Naruto nodded. 1 hour later. This is what is named after me. Chihiro asked as Takinom had told him of some of the foods Naruto had given her. Naruto mentioned he had a dish named after him, Chihiro Crunch. He thought it sounded amazing, like an attack in his own name. Takinom and Nevena suppressed a laugh, while Ajitos trembled, looking like he'd shed his own skin. Breakfast, the most important meal of the day. Naruto said as this was either going to be hilarious or violent or some mix of both. Chihiro tried it and gave a disgruntled sound, which was Chihiro speak for pretty good. I still want those meats, he said as he loved the meat Naruto brought. No, I have something named after me. Nevena asked him. Yeah, a frozen drink. Naruto said as Nevena was blue and Ivena was red. Do I? Ajitos asked as Naruto mentioned Takinom had 2 dishes, something called kebabs and chili, which was an odd name to him for something hot. Not to my knowledge. Naruto said as Ajitos was a rarely used scan. What's Maxer's? Chihiro asked what dish his rival was named for. He saw Naruto disappear and come back in a few minutes holding a dish. It was a green-like sauce with some kind of pasta. This is perfect, it's just like the real Maxer, a green puddle of weakness, he said as he ate it, commenting it had a stronger taste than Maxer did with his power. Ironic how true that is. Naruto thought to himself. Here, he said, tossing Nevena her signature drink. Nevena looked at it oddly as aside from ice pillar things were never cooled down here. It was a welcome delight. I taste delightful, she said to herself. Hey, whatever you do on your own time. Naruto said teasingly, making the blue girl turn even bluer, realizing how her words could be taken. Wanna see how your sister tastes? He asked her, holding up her sister's beverage. Nevena grumbled and hated to admit she liked the red drink more. She glared at Naruto. Never forget I marked you, she said to him as if that made her better. Well, I slept with your sister, does that mean anything? Naruto asked as everyone heard him. Oh CRP, did I say that out loud? He asked no one in particular. 5 seconds later. Good thing I had him get me all this food before they decided to kill him. Chihiro thought to himself, watching Naruto run from Nevena and Takinom. My liege, did you or Takinom ever take the time to explain what marking meant to the boy? Ajitos asked him. Chihiro chuckled. Nope, he said to him as he enjoyed some food. Have the fire force on standby, he said to him as Takinom was second only to him in fire, meaning she could burn down a lot. 1 hour later. Well, I'm out of food and most of my furniture is gone. Chihiro said as his curtains were the only flammable things here and in the hallways. It was why most of everything was made of stone and metal, to handle the heat of fire attacks. 20 minutes later. Okay, now that you can stuff yourselves, mind explaining why you got pissed? Naruto asked Takinom. You have been marked. Takinom said, downing a chili named after her. She hated it was cold, as while delightful in taste she liked her food hot. Again, explain that. Naruto said to her. When a female creature decides to have a partner, they mark that partner to ward females away. after you left when you were drunk out of your mind. Takinom said, thinking she should have blasted Chire for that. I talked with my student in Scythia, she said to him, as underworld women didn't talk, they battled and shed blood. Yeah, wait, back up, all three of you bit me, didn't you? Naruto asked her. It's different with women from the same tribe. Takinom said to him, opposing tribes is another story. She said, glad Intress didn't bite him, but you slept with an overworlder, she said, glaring at him. We shared the same bed, I am still very much a virgin. Naruto said, seeing both women pause at that. Well, we can go to my bed chambers and fix that. Nevena said, getting closer to him. I think I can fix that plenty. Apprentice. Takinom said to him. Question, back up, multiple people have bitten me, where do I go from there? Naruto asked, feeling like he missed that key bit of information. Should the mate be lacking, the female creature normally parts ways, but this is the underworld, so you will get burned harshly. Nevena said, as those were the facts. Lacking as in sexually? Naruto asked, getting a nod. Oh, then I might be screwed, he said, as the Ninetales let slip he was part of a clan and informed him of the details about that clan. Your clan was a threat because you lived long and were sexually active with each other, the Ninetales said, telling him about the extinction of the Uzumaki clan. He told them. If you are not speaking out, but like most creatures, you may have become much more valuable. Takinom said to him, rubbing his chest. Naruto realized he was either dead, or screwed. Next day. I swear I hate this place. Naruto said, as Takinom threw him and Nevena in the deep end of the lava pond, in the most literal sense. I thought you could walk on water. Nevena asked him curiously. Yeah, water, this is burning hot magma. Naruto said, as he could run on it for a few seconds at best before his skin made contact with the liquid fire. 1 hour later. I swear this element is impossible. Naruto said, as the Ninetales had him burning leaves for God's sake, and that worked faster than this. You're telling me, I have been training in this element for years and still nothing, I have no element, isn't that embarrassing? Nevena said in distaste, hating that she lacked something where her sister didn't. Don't be HRD on yourself, you have 3 magicians, that alone is impressive. Naruto said, as that was a high accomplishment. Don't get me wrong, I am a proud Muge, but I want to contribute, more than just that. Nevena said, as she hated that about herself. Naruto scanned her, wondering if she could learn Arbor Smash, but her courage read a little below the needed requirement. I wonder, he thought to himself. City of Elements. Naruto learned Jack Squat from the elementals. He was thanked by Nam for sharing Arbor Smash with him, as it was older than him and was an interesting attack to study. Naruto. Crayowa Pop. Naruto thought, as it was impossible, there was a female with more energy than him, and she was too adorable to tell off given how excitable she was. The water spirits have told me of something amazing. Unda said to him. Really? Naruto asked, as water spirits were very clever. In his opinion, any information from them would be useful. 1 hour later. So this will let us breathe underwater? Nevena asked him curiously. Yep. Naruto said to her, as he had to call in a favor from Peyton. He went to a scuba gear place and got him these tanks and diver suits. Are you sure it is wise to steal from Nauthilax? Ivana asked him. You're the one with high wisdom, you tell me. Naruto said, as the water spirits had heard of Nauthilax unearthing ancient scrolls, one of them having an attack he could use to help Nevena. Nevena wanted to say no, but she needed this chance to finally learn an element. Few minutes later. They had submerged in the underworld ocean pathways. Thankfully the water was warmer here, so there was less discomfort. You doing okay? Naruto asked, as he made some seals in the breather masks so they could talk. It's so peaceful down here. Nevena said, sounding aloof. Yeah, they say drowning is the most peaceful way to die. Naruto said to her. Let's both not find out if that is true. Nevena said, as they shared a laugh. How will we find where he lives? I only know where he enters on the surface, she said to him. Good question, he might be somewhere only he can get to. Naruto said as Nauthilax was a water specialist, so it was likely he knew the terrain well. If this is Nauthilax's home, he might have Mujik there, he thought. As the scanners had radar for creature presences, he wondered if it worked on Mujik as well. Few minutes later. This looks like a grave. Naruto said to himself, with bones to go with it, he thought to himself. Nauthilax rarely spends time on land, but I know he is a collector. Nevena said to him, he collects from wrecks of known battles, or items he deems valuable, she said to him. Sounds like kleptomania. Naruto thought to himself, as if Nauthilax hoarded all he deemed treasure, it would certainly explain a few things. They searched and found a chest. It had no tribed seal, making it look older than it seemed. They opened it and found the attack. Hydro Ball? Nevena asked him. Might be right up your alley. Think about it, you have the wisdom for this attack. Naruto said to her as it spoke of high wisdom, if that wisdom cap was the same as Arborsmash's, then Nevena was overqualified. I could learn water attacks. Nevena asked, as that was extremely rare in the underworld. They took the scroll and began to leave. Chaotic players. Nauthilax said, seeing them in his home. I can take him, swim to the surface, he doesn't know it's you. Naruto said, as thankfully Nevena's human-like appearance worked in her favor. Nevena nodded. How much time I got? Naruto thought, looking at his scanner, seeing he had a little over an hour. Hey PP cheese, he said, getting a scan, knowing Nauthilax didn't like it, and he began to chase him. 20 minutes later. And I thought the girls were persistent. Naruto thought, using his hands to channel wind, propelling himself forward and giving him way more speed. Naruto was concerned, as he had a feeling he knew where they were now, right under the lava pond or very close to it, as they had reached a volcanic vent and it was blazing. Die! Nauthilax said in his gurgling voice, even underwater. SHT, he nicked one of the tank's tubes. Naruto thought to himself in urgency, it soon exploded. Nauthilax watched as the boy descended into the vent, even he would burn up to close in these ocean waters. It doesn't matter what you do, if you live and die as you like. However, no matter what road you end up taking, remember to protect the people that are precious to you. Who is that? Naruto thought, weakly unmoving. When the tree leaves dance, one shall find flames. The fire's shadow will illuminate the village, and once again, tree leaves shall bud anew. Wait, I know those words. Naruto thought to himself, and even in all the water he felt tears swell in his eyes. Old man third, he thought, and as he opened his eyes he felt as if he was waking up from a bad dream. This is fake, isn't it? He asked himself, seeing he was in Ichiraku. Is it, or is it your mind trying to tell you something? Hiruzen said to him. Those poems, I was too dumb at the time to appreciate them. Naruto said in honesty. Naruto, you were a spirited child, but I knew from the first day I laid my eyes on you, you had a strong flame burning inside you, one that all the previous Hokage before had as well. Hiruzen said to him. Naruto gave a dry laugh at that. And how would they have coped in my place? He asked him. The first Hokage would be doing what you have been doing, the second, while a great ninja, had his problems. Naruto, he wasn't perfect. Hiruzen said to him. And the fourth? Naruto asked him. Minato Namikaze was a genius, even surpassing myself. Perhaps he could have found a way, perhaps he would have wasted away, but he would not lose himself in the process. Naruto, believe in that and believe in yourself, because Naruto, there was never a doubt in my mind, I always believed in you, he said as everything began to fade. With Naruto. Naruto's eyes shot open, his skin was burning up and his eyes shined a golden color. Lava Pond. Sirin was on his way to see Kopond, wondering if the Muge could train Naruto, but before anything else a massive shockwave happened in the lava pond, and since he lived near an earth elemental he knew this was not natural. In fact, the lava pond seemed to be getting hotter. It can't be, he thought to himself as his mind went to only one person. Underworld City. You look terrible. Nevena said as his diving suit was in tatters and his upper body was very nice. Thanks, and you look less like a witch without your armor. Naruto said tauntingly. I like looking like a witch. Nevena said to him, it works, she said, bursting with excitement as she fired water. Going off potential, you have your sister beat when she was learning Earth. Naruto said as she let out an impressive amount. Nevena beamed at that comment. One learns water, the other fire. Sirin said to Naruto, about time boy, you have been footing it, but now look at you, now show me, he said to him demandingly as Naruto ignited in gold flames. Impressive, now get stronger, and you earned your scan, he said to him. Naruto had ported to Chaotic to load his previous scans and thankfully had open slots. He scanned Sirin. Few hours later. Water. Chaya thought as Nevena was learning water attacks, his lieutenant was doing well it seemed. She took a big step forward having learned from Naruto. Even Takinom was impressed. You'll be a fine addition to my forces, he said as he requested Omer get her some water-attributed battle gear. A liquilizer was good and all, but he had Omer work on some battle gear for his water specialist in the past. And Naruto can use fire along with wind. Takinom said as that was impressive. The boy has learned the elements quickly as it took him mere days for wind, and under a month for fire. Ajito said as Sirin stopped by to talk to Kopond. If only all my cadets had that raw talent and drive. Chaya mumbled to himself as it was impressive how much Naruto did. Which element is he learning next? Takinom asked Ajitos. Earth, which is surprising. Ajito said explaining Unda was eager with Naruto. Chaya was not easily fooled, but the elementals were a different story altogether, but he believed Unda was hiding something, from Naruto or herself was the real question. Later that day. Naruto was currently with Radhar having a drink, many looking at them oddly. So what are the odds of us not getting into a fight? He asked him curiously. Well, we're in a dive bar and a shitty one at that. The people here are dumber than bricks, and here's the best part, most of them dislike humans. Radhar said to him. So it's either kick or get kicked. Naruto said taking a swig. You're learning. Radhar said emptying his drink, before tossing it randomly into someone's face. Whoops, dropped my beer, he said as a brawl soon began. 1 hour later. Oh, this is quite a sight, covered in BLD that's not your own. You know how to make an underworld girl feel excited. Nevena said seeing Naruto in this state, one of victory, one that showed he was a warrior. Just show me where my room is. Naruto said not in the mood. Next morning. You know, if I was a Rankamutter I wouldn't recognize those knife talons you have cutting the air. Naruto said as shinobi often heard kunai flying through the air. Hearing knives was a skill many had to develop. Mind explaining this? Takinom said pointing down at her student, her naked and topless student only wearing panties. I thought she snuck in here in the middle of the night. She brought me to my room and then left. Naruto said to her. Naruto, this is her room. Takinom said as she had to give her apprentice points, a clever deceit. Naruto sighed as he walked into that one. Few minutes later. Why is he smoking? Chaya asked as literal smoke and steam was coming off Naruto. She ignited, she doused me. Naruto said pointing at Takinom and Nevena respectively, I need to learn water, for the sheer sake of not becoming charred me, he said in annoyance. Why everyone learns fire, makes you harder to burn. Chaya said in amusement. 2 hours later. This is, much nicer than the castle, what the hell? Naruto asked seeing Scythia's room as she gave him a key to her balcony. The room looked like it was made for a gothic princess with high-class taste. Van Blut and Krek live like animals and pigs, I on the other hand respect how I live and where I sleep. Scythia said reading some reports from her spy network. So how's Dumb and Dumber? Naruto asked her curiously as she was his main set of eyes and ears if Van Blut did anything. Van Blut is staying here, but he has sent Krek all over the overworld, it's erratic. Scythia said giving him a map. Naruto read it as she had a point, none of his movements made sense. Why does Van Blut keep him? He asked her curiously. He's a flyer and is able to put up a decent fight even though he is a coward. Scythia said to him, I would like to ask you something, she asked as she asked him about his world's espionage techniques and his own techniques. While she shared her own, she developed a fascination for kunoichi, respecting them greatly. Next day. How did I get roped into this? Naruto asked as he felt like killing himself as Scythia wanted him to come back. Because I asked you to and we are associates and I do more for you to repay that debt I owe. Scythia said to him simply. She was wearing a purple and black combat dress and black silk-like gauntlets. Impressive. Naruto took a scan seeing her Gojo's spy title added, and you've been training a new element and a new magician, he said as that was quite the leap as he saw her earth element. I have been trying to improve myself. Scythia said to him as she was glad to see her results. Naruto saw her wisdom was exactly 50 meaning she could learn Hydro Ball like Navena did and gain water if she trained hard enough like Ivena was no doubt doing with Arbor Smash. He wondered if she would have any luck with it. Next day. I swear Najurin, that ball of light sucked. Naruto said as he was pissed as he was wrestling a hangover. Hey Tom, hey Intress, he said to his friends. I apologize. Najurin said to him knowing his means could be harmful at times, he explained where Maxer was heading. I've heard of the Call Stone, a Codemaster used one in a match, they give a creature 10 energy. Naruto said surprised that was linked to decomposition, it might be why, the music is linked to the battle gear, he thought guessing Amuge made them that way. Please we need you both now more than ever. Intress said as saving Maxer right now was what was most important, she just felt bad because she could barely do anything to help. 10 minutes later. This is Battle Gear Tom. Naruto said as he scanned the blue call stone, imagine Maxer with double his fighting power, he said as this battle gear was unique, it came from an overworld leader making that much more valuable. Tom took a scan as well as this is a rare one-of-a-kind gear, he took another for a switch out. Now you are learning. Naruto said to him. Naruto Uzumaki. Van Blut's voice said loudly at the sanctuary. You need to run. Naruto said to him, what do you want Van B? He said loudly not making his location known. Give me the call stone and I'll let you live. Van Blut said angrily. I beat you before you idiot even with Maxer strength, you'd still be just as strong as Maxer. Naruto said with a chuckle. With Intress. Do you think they will succeed? Intress asked her mentor. One is stubborn the other willing to put his life on the line. Najurin said to her. Which is which? Intress asked him as that could go for either. No idea. Najurin said with a chuckle. With Tom. I've battled Kaz as Chire before, but Chire is much better at being himself than Kaz. Tom thought dodging fireballs, Maxer, he yelled out. With Naruto. Well I may have just destroyed a location. Naruto thought feeling so many bruises as Van Blut's grand idea was to push the Torweg to its maximum output and tackled him both beating on each other as they crashed through multiple walls. Maxer. Tom. Naruto thought in urgency as he ran he was stuck in the back by wind, stay down you'll live longer, he said angrily to Van Blut, before narrowly dodging a blade slashing his back, your scythe, he said seeing it was collapsible a fact he did not know. First BLD, never a good sign. Van Blut said admiring his blade that had Naruto's BLD on it. True, but what do you say about the idiot on fire? Naruto asked him raising a hand sign. Van Blut heard sizzling and saw it was coming from his scythe before he knew it, it exploded. Later chump. Naruto said dashing off. I will not be defeated again. Van Blut thought madly as he pushed his Torweg to its upper limits not caring about the damage. With Tom. Hard to believe you're even remotely the same species as Naruto. Chire said to Tom as he was in a ring of fire against a wall. He silently admitted his defiance was admirable as he certainly had more spine than Krek as while not saying much for a human with no powers it said more about him. Tom. Maxer said showing up and saw Chire and fell back. Maxer. Chire said glad to see him for once, word around Param is you're a coward now, he said seeing the look in his eyes was all the answer he needed, last chance kid, he said igniting his hand. You want it, go fetch. Tom said throwing the stone a good distance, for a human. Chire walked to it not even 20 paces and picked it up. Tom. Naruto said arriving seeing him in a ring of fire, he reached Tom and got him out. I'm about to become the strongest creature in all of Harem. Chire said, holding the stone. That stone is mine. Van Blut said, tackling into Chire, the stone going flying. Krek, he yelled out, having his winged assistant on standby. Coming. Krek said, having followed Chire from a distance. Help Maxer, I got these idiots. Naruto said, jumping in to help Chire. Naruto and Chire shared a look and nodded. Naruto rushed Krek and punched him in his eye again, making him become disoriented. I swear, why do I get this idiot, he thought in annoyance. Van Blut hated how useless his minion was. He saw Tom rushing to Maxer and got an idea. Say goodbye to your friend Naruto, he said, firing a lavalanche at Tom. Slow, that is how Naruto would describe everything. The moment that the lavalanche was shot, he looked at Tom and began to run, using all his wind and fire to give him some major move to push beyond his speed, his mouth opening to call out to Tom, but to no avail. All he could think was no, no, he thought to himself. Nagerin and Intress arrived just as the blast was fired. Intress fired a torrent of water Tom's way, but she knew it was too slow. Nagerin, however, was focused on Naruto. That look in his eyes, it scared him. It was a look of determination, a look warriors had facing an imminent threat, a look one had when they knew they might die. Tom heard Naruto call out to him and saw the lavalanche coming right at him. His entire life flashed before his eyes, but before it struck him, he was shoved out of the way and into Maxer. Everyone watched as Naruto was now in the way of the lavalanche. When it struck, Naruto had severe burns on the left side of his upper body, covering his arm, left side of his chest. Maxer, Tom said, taking out the stone, needing to get to Naruto, who now needed him more. The stone. Van Blut said, figuring out the one he and Chire had must have been a fake, given the stone Tom had was a different color. He took his scythe and was going to cut Tom down. Just as he brought it down, he hit his mark and so much more. Naruto. Intress yelled, seeing him get stabbed in his kidney, and the blade still hit Tom. Maxer, having broken the stones, looked at the scene before him. Two children barely old enough to even be considered true warriors, with no training, showed much bravery and courage, even more than he had now, which was returned. He looked down and saw their blood on him. He would not stand for this injustice. Chire saw Naruto get stabbed. While not one to get needlessly close to his troops or allies, he had a fondness for the boy. He was like many he had seen before, orphaned and having to suffer for doing absolutely nothing wrong. He knew how bad things could get, which is why he liked him. He saw the good and the bad, but never judged why people did the things they did, to survive or to live. So seeing the person he hated more than Maxer stab him pissed him off to his boiling point. To make everyone more enraged, Van Blut had the audacity to pull his blade back and toss them on the side, like they were trash. Naruto, who was barely conscious, grabbed Tom and took the damage of hitting the wall, his vision hazed. Intress was kneeling beside him, tears in her eyes. She was talking but he couldn't hear. Nagerin was looking over Tom, who Naruto looked at. He wasn't moving and was bleeding heavily. Before he knew it, all he could see was red. Maxer and Chire, about to tear Van Blut limb from limb, were caught by an explosion of wind. Intress, Nagerin, and Tom were blown away, and they all saw a black sphere form around Naruto, but it was somewhat transparent. They saw his skin peel off, like a Mypedian shedding its skin, but under it was something crimson. It was glowing brightly and his skin peeled off, revealing more. But the sphere got darker and darker till it faded away and revealed Naruto, or rather what took Naruto's place. Naruto looked at Van Blut and growled, and before anyone could even blink, Naruto was gone and Van Blut was sent flying. Naruto's tail swished around violently and angrily as he unleashed onto the underworlder. He looked at Krek, who had long since peed himself, and sent a giant chakra arm at him. It burns, help. Krek said as it felt like he had taken a dip in the lava pond, Naruto's very skin feeling like acid. He was brought before Naruto and felt like he would empty something else from his body, especially when Naruto brought him to his face and roared. Gojo's tower. Scythia, having seen the crystal, was going to inform Chire, but he intercepted Krek, so she saw no need. Sadly, Krek, being the idiot he was, left it active, so she called Takinom, who brought Nevena with her. Krek, while not intentionally, was giving them good picture. The fight had been going well, till they saw Naruto take an attack for Tom and get stabbed by Van Blut. They were in shock, especially when he transformed. With Maxer. Nagerin, I need you to heal Tom. Maxer said as loud as he could as that roar was powerful. Nagerin nodded, taking Tom a good distance away. As much as I want to see Van Blut die, what'll happen when he's done? Chire asked no one in particular. He'll attack us, he can't tell apart friend from foe. Intress said as the last time she saw this was the tip of the iceberg. Chire did not like those words. Naruto in this state moved faster than he could keep up with, and from the looks of his skin he was now fire retardant, and seeing Van Blut stab him with his sickle just now and seeing no BLD or wound gave him a small shred of fear they couldn't touch him. Composition of concentration. Song of resurgence. Nagerin said, firing them at Naruto. Naruto felt the cloud in his mind lift, and soon his tails faded away and felt his body heal as well, but he was still beyond pissed, his eyes red and slitted showing them. He glared down at Van Blut. Ha! Van Blut said in pure agony. Everyone saw what Naruto did next and had mixed feelings, except Chire. Yes. Chire said as Naruto tore out Van Blut's eye. Granted the red one couldn't see anything, but tearing it off must have been painful. Van Blut bled all over on the ground. Naruto was far from done. He flipped Van Blut over and grabbed his wings. Chire could cry tears of joy. He had seen Naruto in this position as Ursus. Aw! Van Blut said before blacking out as Naruto broke his wings, snapping the bones. Take him and go, I'm done with this piece of filth. Naruto said to Krek, kicking Van Blut his way, and when he's done screaming and having his night terror, tell him I'm the thing he should fear. Tell him if he harms a hair on someone I care about, I won't just rip out the other eye, I'll take his whole DMN head, he said as sinisterly as his voice would allow. Krek grabbed his MSTR and flew off faster than one could think he could fly. Naruto blacked out after that. We'll take him. Maxer said to Chire, in no mood to fight after what just happened. Like I could carry him on my motorcycle. Chire said, hoping Takinom never found out. Besides, Nagerin was already here and Kopond was in the lava pond. If Naruto needed healing, the overworlders were his best bet. Okay, I have had way too many mental episodes to think this is a dream. Naruto said, leaning against the wall of his old apartment, but it was cleaner than he remembered, and the woman from last time was on his bed and human once again. Well, at least you're learning, the woman said to him. I've been thinking long and hard about who the hell you are. You mentioned Aeon. At first I thought you were him and he was playing games, but somehow I know you're genuine with not liking him. Naruto said to her. Very good, you do have a brain, the woman said to him. I am Aeon's daughter, we met when I assisted in opening up your mind, she said to him with a smirk as she lost her human appearance. Ryoha. Naruto said, remembering her often having stared at her scan along with the other 2 scans of the Marillions he had. Good. Ryoha said, pleased. You're in the deep mines, how the hell are you contacting me? Naruto asked as if this was mental. The Nine Tails would have kicked her out, as the only reason he didn't for Aeon was because he was already fighting, and when she helped him, he only saw surface memories. Slight alteration to your brain, I can't contact you at Chaotic, but in Param not an issue, and don't worry, the alteration is nothing quite advanced, I just made it so I can contact you like a radio. Ryoha said to him, feeling his tension when she said she altered his brain. Why not tell Aeon? Naruto asked her curiously. Because I want the BSTRD dead. Ryoha said simply, he wants the world in the palm of his hand, he'll kill me, his tribe, and everyone else, she said to him. I get the save your own angle, but that's not enough of a reason. Naruto said to her as he couldn't know she wouldn't take over a simple coup, where he does all her dirty work. Fine, I like a challenge, my biological clock is synced to your own, I will sleep and you can have the Nine Tails enter my dream, you can see my memories. Ryoha said with a smile, and Naruto, the reason I won't kill you is the same for why I won't destroy Param, she said, walking to him, because what is the point? She asked him, I mean all this death and destruction, what would I gain and a polluted ocean? Trust me, we can live in it. But it doesn't mean we like it, she said to him, it's like trading fresh air for dank and musty, I mean Aeon likes it because he's old, but me I prefer clean ocean water, she said with a smile. That's been bothering me, out of all the Marillions, he chose you to help him, why is that? Naruto asked her, wondering why Itachi was chosen. Status: I'm Aon's pup, his daughter. Ryoha said to him. Naruto was now slightly afraid Aon left a bad taste, in his mind somehow, as Naruto was fiscally disgusted by that, whatever the hell Aon was, as it wasn't creature that much he understood. You have a choice, and sooner or later you'll have to decide how you wish to face Aon. Naruto, with me, you at least get a shot. Ryoha said as she began to fade away, leaving Naruto literally stuck in his thoughts. Wonder if he'll notice Intress kissed him, she thought in amusement, as his love life was certainly entertaining. Next day. Of Jack? Naruto asked, seeing someone in his vision. Hello my friend, you gave us a scare. Of Jack said to him as he heard what happened with Naruto. Naruto tried to recall what happened. Tom, is he asked in urgency. He's fine, he ported home and then came back with your other friends, he's fine. Of Jack said to him, trying to calm him down. If all overworlders were like you, we'd have no enemies. Nijirin said to him, coming in. How are you? He asked, truly meaning that, wondering how Naruto felt after that. Honestly? Naruto asked him. I feel like I don't know how I feel, he said to Nijirin, or more himself. The music I used on you isn't always physical, it opened your mind and didn't just heal your body, it healed your soul as well. Nijirin said, as some music could go beyond what it was meant for in the right hands like a skilled muge like himself. Naruto felt his chest felt less heavy, but he felt a nagging sense in the back of his mind. Great, another, he thought, thinking of Ryoha for a second. He briefly remembered what happened to him before he blacked out. OSHT, I ripped out Van Blut's eye, he said to himself. Yes, many are celebrating that fact. Nijirin said as Kopond had contacted him about Naruto, as Chaya had apparently taken Van Blut's severed eye and put it in a glass jar. I didn't hurt anyone, did I? Naruto asked, hoping he didn't. No, you focused solely on Van Blut. Nijirin said, thankful for that, as when Naruto went wild in his castle that was just a sample of what lay dormant within him. Hey, is that music still affecting me? Naruto asked him curiously. Given what had happened with Maxer, both of Jack and Nijirin were concerned and asked what he meant. I just feel different. I mean, it's not pain, but I don't feel better either. It's like I know something's there now, that I didn't before. Naruto said, feeling a headache. Composition of concentration, it may have alerted you to something you subconsciously knew was inside you, but were not consciously unaware. Nijirin said, thinking that music may have given Naruto a nudge rather than giving him the whole picture. Naruto guessed he would have to deal with that later. He left the room and was tackled by his gaggle of friends. Few minutes later. Dude, guess Van Blut's scan is gonna go down now. Peyton said to him in surprise what Naruto did. Yep, he'll need a lot of recovery music, forget about his eye. Sarah said, as that was brutal. Naruto remembered the future scan of Van Blut he lost a lot of disciplines, but he did have his eye. He wondered if that meant something. Get any good scans? He asked them. Nijirin showed us his music library. Enga said, having gotten a scan of the inside so she could port back and get more. This place is like a storehouse for music. Sarah said, having run into Rasnus. While loving Danians, she liked Overworlders as a close second. She even ran into Rasnus. He'd really boost her game, allowing her Danian creatures to use overworld music. It's okay. Kaz said, having never been in a Muge's library, well, not one he was invited to. Yeah, hey, we gotta go, I have a match soon and I need a change of clothes. Naruto said as they all ported out. What did Intress rip them off you? Enga asked a bit heatedly, as Naruto had light lipstick marks on his lips and neck, along with a bite mark that bruised lightly. Sarah handed him a mirror. I need a therapist. Naruto said to himself as he attracted deadly and dangerous women. 1 hour later. Hey Tank. Naruto said as Tank was a bit of an oddball. He was competitive, a PP, and a pain in the butt, but he was also a man of his word, stubborn, and most of all a hard player. While competitive, it's only people that tried to give him falsehoods that rubbed him the wrong way. When they first battled he lost to him, but he did challenge him to a rematch. It was a chance to settle the score. Get ready Storm, I'm gonna blow you away. Tank said to him. Naruto smiled at that as well. Most people called him the Black Scanner, while Tank on the other hand called him by his screen name. Tank uses mostly overworlders, but he's known to use underworlders on occasions, he thought to himself. Naruto decided to use Tom's original Maxer as he was sure that'd be a shock, along with Chaya next to him, and to finish his front line he added Odu bat hacks. Next he placed Ivena and Nivena in his center, and finally his cleanup position. Who should I use? He thought to himself. He narrowed it down to Scythia and Prince Mudinu. Both were remarkable at stealth, so both were ideal. I am good with my Pedians. But I do need some practice. I'll use Scythia. I should go after more Mypedian scans, he thought to himself, as of all his decks his Mypedians were lacking. They locked their decks. Ha! Naruto thought, seeing Tank's battle team. He saw some of his normal choices: Tanguth, Toborn, Staluk, Velrith, Blazier, Raimusa and also Ribian. Nice surprise, didn't expect a Mypedian, he said with a smirk. Surprise? Tank said to him. For having previously won against Storm Maelstrom in the past, Aggro 999 shall attack first, the AI said to them. I've been wanting a rematch against Maxer. Tank said in excitement. Tanguth Toborn attacks Maxer, he said in excitement. Wait, I activate Ivena's defender ability. I can stop one of your attacks with Ivena. Naruto said to him. Granted, with Nivena, Ivena has this status, the AI said to them. With the others. Sup guys, how's Naruto? Bruiser asked, having just arrived, without his posse. He just stopped Tank from making the first move. Tom said in excitement. Useful move. Christella said, as defenders were rarely used, it was like intercepting an attack, or it could only be done for same tribe creatures. When one defended, the battle was literally in their court as it became their turn. With Naruto. You baited me? Tank asked him in surprise. Yep. Naruto said as Ivena and Maxer switched places, and now they went to Tank's location, the Riverlands. Kiru City. Maxer was appreciating the TV in his throne room, but sadly so did his troops. Looks like my student saved you from Tanguth. Intress said, laughing at Maxer. Underworld City. Why am I on the same team as that idiot? Chaya said in annoyance, seeing Maxer. No, why am I not on that team? Takinom said, angry her student was on the team. Riverlands. Come on out, you got no attacks. Tanguth said, going on all fours, and began hunting. Kiru City. I'll win. Ivena said confidently. Hear that, Tanguth? Maxer said as Ivena all but called him out. Sorry Ivena, but with no fire you're all out of luck. Tanguth said, confident in his skills. Ivena wasn't sure about that. Riverlands. Rock Wave. Ivena said, having launched an earth attack as she had been hiding in the river waiting for Tanguth to get close. What? No way, Ivena only has fire. Tanguth said to her, having a scan of her. Things change like this, Lickalizer for instance. Ivena said as she had the trifecta now. The two fought, and with water being stronger and Ivena having earth, it made this more difficult for Tanguth, and soon he was coated. Kiru City. Ivena jumped in joy seeing herself beat Tanguth in battle. I'm never gonna hear the end of this. Tanguth said, wishing he never came here. Well, it's official, we have surpassed you both. Intress said to them. Or more accurately, Naruto puts up a better fight than you two do as yourselves. Maxer said with a grin, getting glared at. Krellin. So you got a new scan? Tank said, hating when scans went out of date. Yep, was with her as she trained. Naruto said to him as he spun the dial now, and it landed on Kiru City. Chaya attacks Velrith, he said as they transformed. Port Court. What's he doing? Tom said in shock. Real Kiru City. What's he doing? Maxer said, finding this outrageous. Underworld City. Yes. Chaya said, roaring in pride. Kiru City. Chaya was currently setting the whole castle on fire, and when he made it to Maxer's throne he sat on it for a minute, before tossing it out the window. Copond, you better not have screwed me, he thought to himself, as he will not deny Copond was crazy. You set the whole castle on fire. Velrith asked him, jumping from the floor below, firing iron ball at him. I was half tempted to let you burn to death, he said to him. I'm glad you didn't. Chire said, summoning his battle gear, a blue stone. Real Kiru City. Maxer was shocked seeing his call stone again. Underworld City. Chire had his eyes focused on that stone, wishing to know how powerful he would have been. Port Court. Whoa, Chire's stats just hit 200 in some and over 100 in the others. Kaz said in surprise, never seeing Chire this powerful. Kiru City. Song of Fury. Chire said to himself, get ready to burn, Incinerase, he called out as Chire Incinerase blanketed the entire castle up and down in a massive heat blast wave. Everyone watching was in shock of the sheer power that had been displayed. Krellin Drome. That was the coolest fire attack I have ever seen. Tank said in awe, dude, you should totally use that on Fire King, he said, not even mad he lost. Can I see that on replay, he asked the AI, who complied. Underworld City. He gave me Maxer's strength, then amplified all that power with Song of Fury. Chire thought, as he only lost a little energy and Naruto still kept most of it, he could still use 2 Incinerases by his count. Malmark's Castle. The 1DMN place Staluk has advantage. AI Vena thought, as while not the brightest bulb, Staluk was clever, and when he knew the terrain he was a war horse on a mission, and when driven by someone like Tank this creature was not to be messed with. She wondered if he should use either the castle where Staluk lived or his forest where he constantly ran chasing chaotic players. Port Court. I feel bad for saying this, but I really hope Staluk thrashes him. Enga said as she remembered when Staluk chased her and Tom but not Naruto. Join the club, turns out when you steal from Staluk, he remembers forever. Peyton said dramatically as he tried that apple thing Naruto suggested, but Staluk remembered him and chased him all over the forest again. They watched as Ivena walked through the castle. As she did, the room she entered exploded. Kiru City. What happened? AI Vena asked, surprised she was beaten so easily. Malmark's lab is volatile, why do you think I leave only him and his creatures there? Maxer said as he felt bitter as Naruto destroyed his castle as Chire and used his own power to do so. Krellin Drome. Well, at least Nivena keeps her bonus. Naruto thought to himself. Malmark's Castle, a real trip. Tank said a bit bitterly as he saw Staluk's memories, that place was a natural disaster. Naruto spun the randomizer. Fear Valley. Maxer was keeping a lookout for Blazer. It was no secret Blazer was often equipped with a motorcycle, but so do I, he thought as Tom gave Maxer a skeletal steed to reposition him as he liked. It was a skillful play, but it didn't give Maxer much if any range, ironically, as that was the ability given to those with the steed. Maxer was proven right when Blazer was heard driving. Underworld City. I'm not sure who to root against. Chire said as he hated both these idiots with a passion. You stole Blazer's motorcycle. Nivena said, reminding him of that as the last time Blazer was here, he left his trusty ride and Chire had it rebuilt and resized for himself. Yeah, but the BSTRD got away with his life. Chire said to himself. Kiru City. I often wonder, does the size of the motorcycle factor in? Ivena asked. No one in particular. No, they all are built to accommodate the creature of their size, but it's the creature's weight that may slow them down. Intress said as she had the same question once and raced Maxer and Blazer, but the Danian variant is faster, she said as while overworld battlegear the Danian was meant to support the extra legs, but it had 2 wheels making it larger, faster, and more deadly. They watched as Maxer and Blazer raced through Fear Valley, blasting at each other. Fear Valley. Rock Wave. Maxer said, making himself a ramp, and then got some airtime, soon landing on top of Blazer, but not before making a jump for it. Kiru City. That was accurate. Intress said as she gave Maxer a bland look. Maxer, when you can't break through, you ram something into it, she said to him, getting some laughs. Krellin Drome. Gotta tell you, it's been a while since I raced someone. Naruto said with a smirk. Can't say I don't keep the things entertaining. Tank said as he looked at his board. He had 3 and Naruto had 5, he spun the randomizer. Rymusa attacks Maxer, he said to him. Lava pond. I almost feel bad. Maxer said to him as Rymusa was looking down. I don't. Rymusa said revealing his battle gear. I really hate that thing. Maxer said as they were now at the Riverlands again. Kiru City. Maxer winced. He had trained with Rymusa in the past with Tangyth at Glacier Plains. Rymusa stuck to cold places as that was what he was built for, but in a place like the Riverlands the moisture in the air made it cool enough for him to attack normally and more powerfully. He winced seeing himself get destroyed. Port Court. Have you guys noticed they have been barely using their music and battle gear? Sarah asked them. Macho Man Contest. Tank once saw Naruto shirtless and respected his game. This is a bro contest, whoever uses less and whoever wins is the more manly man. Peyton said to her. I'll never understand men. Sarah, Enga, and Christella thought to themselves. They saw the next battle was Chaya vs Rymusa at Jade Pillar. Few minutes later. Can't let you use that battle gear. Chaya thought in annoyance as he hated that he was in a struggle with his own location. Underworld City. Hate that place. Chaya said to himself as he had fought there multiple times, he hated the waiting game and the counting one. Jade Pillar. F it. Chaya said launching an incinerace, setting all the wood on fire. Rymusa didn't fire guessing they were close to the limit. Got only one left then Chaya is nothing but fodder for Nevena. Chaya thought to himself firing another incinerace. Krellin 4-on-2. Naruto said to him. Your Chaya is running on fumes. Tank said as he still had Staluk and Ribian. Naruto moved Nevena forward and watched as Tank spun. Underworld City. Oh no. Nevena thought seeing the disadvantage she had at that location. Storm Tunnel. Nevena really needs to upgrade from heals. Nevena said angrily. Underworld City. Takinom gave her student a look as heals were not meant for the battlefield or in Naruto's case climbing. Thank everything I chose Ribian. Ribian said as if he chose Staluk, instant loss. I might not be able to beat you, but I can weaken you. Nevena said sacrificing all her musicians. Port Court. Oh, Ribian lost all his strength. Peyton said as that was a downer. Hey Ribian. Nevena said getting his attention, I go out on my own terms, she said jumping letting the tunnel take her, but not before flipping him off. Underworld City. At least he went out on his own terms. Nevena thought bitter but understanding, he couldn't win, but he at least wounded his enemy. Who does he have left? Chaya asked them as he went to get food. Scythia, Odu Bat Hacks, and you. Takinom said to him. Chaya knew he was out but as him Naruto took down 2 overworlders and destroyed Maxer's castle, today was a good day. They watched as Chaya was defeated by Staluk and then saw the next battle where Odu Bat Hacks and Staluk met equal destruction. Think he can win? Ajitos asked Chaya. He better. Chaya said as Naruto had the advantage especially given the location was Steam Pillar. Scythia actually knew this location well as her unit when she was still his soldier before Van Blut recruited her was stationed there. The pillar had no known function aside from handling excess heat from certain factories and made the underworld less hot if one could believe. It led up to the underworld and was one of the few places not even he dared to mess with to get there. Steam Pillar. Some of these tubes, they allow mobility. Naruto thought using Scythia's memories seeing how she traveled around, SHT if she was in my world, she'd have made an amazing kunoichi, she thought before focusing while she had home court advantage, Ribian didn't need to move with less mobility as metal didn't leave tracks. Scythia moved inside of Steam Pillar moving to a certain spot. Underworld City. Where is that? Ajitos asked Chaya curiously. It's a steam exchange room, the pipes in that room move and rotate, steam pillar has a lot of exit holes and needs to act on them when one is blocked or unusable. The steam and pressure is redirected to another vent. Chire said having learned of this location the hard way as some idiot guard of his got stuck in the tubes, he died in minutes as that steam was no joke. Those who went there often decided that the steam was sometimes harsher than the lava of the underworld. Steam pillar. Song of True Sight. Scythia said revealing Ribbian, Pebble Storm. She said aiming for a valve. Scythia once disarmed this whole place when the pipes got locked in. She knows how they sing, he said as blasts of steam began to fire. Port Court. Everyone watched as it was a game of chance now. Scythia danced dodging each and every blast. Ribbian wasn't doing so well, and when the final blast hit Ribbian he was code. Krellin Drome. Nice battle. Tank said as he was satisfied with it. Naruto won. Now, we're tied, up for a rematch, he asked him as they shared a laugh. Anytime anywhere. Naruto said as they walked out. Hey, how many wins you have here? Tank asked curiously. You make 6. Naruto said to him. Hey, you beat one more, you get a Codemaster battle with Krellin. Tank said as the list of people who beat him was an extremely short one, but he believed Naruto had the chops to pull it off. Yeah, when I win, I am going to do something extreme. Naruto said to him. What streak? Tank asked as some people did that before. No, something more extreme. Naruto said to him. You read the rules on Codemaster battles, he asked him. There are rules. Tank asked him. Less than you think. Naruto said to him, but before I fight here again, I need a favor. Where'd you get Ribbian? He asked, having heard he was harder to get than Mudinu. If you go after him, man, get water and blankets, cause he's in a part of the Mypedian desert that's hotter than the lava pond and colder than glacier plains at night. Tank said, giving him the information and even the location scan of where he got him as he had an extra, the Shakri Flats. Shakri Flats. Krellin must not know what the hell this place does at night. Naruto thought, having seen on some geographical shows that showed the desert was a dangerous place night and day. During the day it was hot, at night it was freezing. Good thing I got a scan of both, he thought as day drained energy. He had seen that in Krellin's matches, but night he had never seen. Might be bad for water attacks, he thought to himself, taking a guess as to what it could be used for. Few hours later. Mypedians travel often at night to conserve energy, for desert travel. Naruto thought, remembering what Tank had said to him. Peyton even backed it up. He made a small fire and sat by it. He wanted to see if he could attract attention. Naruto waited and listened. This entire land was flatland. Honestly, even the Mypedians hadn't gotten very far here, as this part of the desert was tough on even them. You know, for a big guy like yourself, you're surprisingly quiet. Naruto said out loud. The fire is free if you're interested, he said to his currently invisible guest. The hair on his body literally stood out and he jumped out the way, avoiding a blast of lightning. He's moving fast, going for my blind spots. This is no ordinary Mypedian, he thought, as this was a true MSTR of stealth and invisibility. Time to limit your movements, he said, making an intense ring of fire in a wide area. Naruto watched the heat waves carefully, intensifying the flames, and could soon make out his form. Invisibility is useless, trust me. I met a winged but who thought he was clever, he said as he looked into multiple ways to figure out how to handle an invisible opponent, and so far fire and water were best. Wind had some perks as well, but earth aside from mud was limited. Oh holy SHT, he thought, seeing the Mypedian take its normal visible state. He recognized this Mypedian as well. You're Theb Sar, he said to him. What are you? Thebsar asked him. Pal, if I had the answer to that, my life would be less complicated, Naruto said to him. 1 hour later. Naruto followed Thebsar to a hovel. He saw a map made on the wall and landmarks made on it. He saw a small Mypedian whetstone, guessing he collected his own water. My music reacts to you, Thebsar said, showing him the music. Naruto saw it and saw it seemed different than all the musics before. It glowed like before, but now it also emitted wind. Is this because I trained with Sylve? He thought, wondering if working with Siren had this same effect with underworld music. They talked about a long list of things. Do you know of my son, Eifler? Thebsar asked him curiously. Never met him, but I have met your nephew Mudinu. Naruto said to him. Those two. Thebsar said, finding it humorous, my nephew lost his father my brother when he was very young. A battle with the overworlders and underworlders had ventured to the border. Mudinu's father rushed to the battle to stop it from getting beyond that point. Many lives on all sides were lost as well as my brother, he said bitterly. Ever find out who did it? Naruto asked him curiously. No, but my nephew grew to distrust all clans. He's incredibly loyal to his family and those under his command. Thebsar said, proud of his brother's child. The Danians have often had a problem with us for years, he said, as that was a mixed bag of reasons as he saw the question for the Danians in Naruto's eyes. So why are you out here? Naruto asked him curiously. Because I have been training my body, learning as much as I could about my clan and its lost history. This desert was not always like this. My people once lived here, but the location became hazardous and we were forced to flee. Thebsar said to him. What about a caretaker? Naruto asked him curiously. My Pedian caretakers died out long ago, even before my father's time. I have wondered about asking the overworld for assistance, but as you probably know my nephew and Maxer don't get along well. Thebsar said to him. I have wondered about that. The overworld has an embassy in my Pedian territory, right? Naruto asked him curiously. That would be because of Ifler, my son. Thebsar said to him, my son is not burdened by a thirst for battle. He is clever and will not settle for less than equal or greater trade, he said, as his son was truly worthy of the crown. Isn't it difficult leaving your nephew who has a warrior mentality and a son who has a somewhat peaceful one in charge? Naruto asked him curiously. Those two have shortcomings, believe me they do. Ifler, while skilled, is not a powerful warrior. Mudinu, while powerful and having a general-like mind, doesn't always think about the larger or greater picture. Thebsar said, as he hoped both would learn from each other. I mean, why not go back? You've left a lot of footholds here, and you've been living in isolation here for years. Naruto said to him, as while commendable that he was thinking about his tribe, it was definitely not a good thing for him to be here all alone. I need to restore this desert. In ancient texts this was all a forest as lush as the forest of life. Tell me, young man, if you could do more for your people, your home, wouldn't you? Thebsar asked, as talking to this child reminded him of himself in his younger days. Yes. Naruto said instantly, with no hesitation present. I have friends with people in Kiru. What if I could help your tribe, and you could go home? He asked him curiously. Thebsar gave him an odd look. And what kind of pull do you have in the overworld? He asked him, having seen Stranger. The second in command to Maxer marked my neck and kissed me. Naruto said to him. I'll pack my things. Thebsar said, as this would be an interesting event if all else failed. 2 days later. Man, this guy is crazy powerful. Naruto thought, as Thebsar on his own was as strong as Chire and he had 2 magicians. He ported to Chaotic for a supply run and to load his scan of Thebsar, as he thought he might meet Ifler, and having the entire royal Mypedian family seemed like a rare collection that Peyton would be jealous over. He did get him a scan of Thebsar because he still remembered Peyton giving him his Mypedian cactus for his fight with Clay. They made it to the Mypedian oasis and were getting many kinds of looks as they walked to Mudinu's fortress. Few minutes later. Mudinu was shocked beyond belief to see his uncle. He honestly thought he would vanish in the wind like much in the Mypedian territory has in the past. Thank you, he said to Naruto, not having expected him to find his uncle. Hey, I'm an orphan, I know how much family means and wanting it. Naruto said to him. Mudinu paused at that for a moment, as he himself was an orphan, but had his cousin and uncle there for him when his parents both passed. You will be a well-respected guest in my fortress, ask for anything and my guards will attend to it, he said to him. Actually, I was talking to your uncle and I think I may have someone who can help him with restoring the desert, but you are not going to like it, at all. Naruto said to him. Mudinu looked curious to that. 1 hour later. Hey Seato. Naruto said, as they were currently at the overworld embassy. Hello. Seato said nervously, as he was in the presence of his king and didn't want to seem to lax. How is seeing the ambassador going to restore the Chakri flats? He asked him curiously. It's not immediately, but it's politics. Naruto said as Mudinu snorted, not having ever seen much results in politics. They made it to the embassy. And were told to go to the library. They were there and saw their intended target, Kinian, the ambassador to the Mypedians, who was currently asleep next to a pile of books. They walked over, Naruto and Debsar each picking up a book. Healing music? Debsar asked in surprise. That's her special ability, she can increase the power of abilities and musics that heal Mypedians. Naruto said to him. She can heal Mypedians better than her own tribesmen? Debsar asked him. Yes. Mudinu said bitterly, as while having a dislike for overworlders, this one was someone he couldn't hate. She healed indiscriminately, to friend, stranger, or even someone who most wouldn't lift a finger to. She had healed some of his more critical men from sieges here in the oasis, and he was thankful for that. Impressive. Debsar said, looking at the sleeping and drooling creature. He raised a book high and dropped it on the table, waking her up and startling her. Kinian took in her surroundings and was shocked by who she was surrounded by. 3 days later. Why choose this location? Eifler asked his father. I didn't, the boy said it was best we do this meeting here. Debsar said as Naruto seemed almost insistent they use this as the neutral location. Eifler looked at the human who was currently lying on the ground, who had scanned him moments ago and returned to chaotic only to come back. What are you planning? Mudinu asked Naruto as Naruto seemed to arrange everything like he was setting the stage for something. Trust me, be prepared to be shocked beyond belief when I make my move. Naruto said to him. After some time Maxer arrived with Intress and Nadrin along with Kinian. Debsar. Maxer said, seeing the king of the Mypedians, I assume this is your doing, he asked Naruto. Maxer, when am I never at the edge of crazy? Naruto asked him, seeing him smile. Listen, I'll cut to the chase. I need to borrow one of your caretakers to help restore life to the Mypedian desert like the Shakri Flats, he said to him. Which caretaker? Maxer said, as some of them were very critical to keeping the locations in Param stable, then realized where they were. You don't mean? He asked in shock. They were caught off guard as a water dragon made an appearance. Who is that? Eifler asked, wondering if this was a double cross. The caretaker you need. Naruto said as the royal family looked at him as if he was insane. The overworlders were tense as this was Isolde. He was a caretaker, but very private. He defended these lands all on his own as the water was his domain being made of it. They were surprised he hadn't attacked yet as he was famous for attacking friend and foe, but soon saw why as Unda arrived. 1 hour later. And I thought Chire ate a lot. Naruto thought as the meeting was still going. Naruto told them there was a hidden reservoir of water, beneath them right now at this very location. It had underwater tunnels that had been sealed, but one lead close to the Shakri Flats. He had asked Unda for assistance given this was her element and she was the only one that could calm Isolde down. Maxer and Mudinu began discussing terms for the water source and the caretaker to help the dry lands. Maxer wanted a ceasefire as he was done dealing with Mudinu, given that they were constantly battling each other. Eifler saw the logic to that, but Mudinu didn't want handouts and complained about Maxer and his last encounter demanding compensation. Naruto had gotten food as they had been here a while and this was getting nowhere. Do you two have to glare so hard? Intress asked as this was worse than when she fought her sister, and that alone said a lot. Yes. Maxer and Mudinu said in unison. Everyone who knew them rolled their eyes. 2 hours later. DMN idiots. Naruto thought as that was a wasted 3 hours of his life as the only thing gained was that there would be a ceasefire treaty. The Mypedians would be able to send their own ambassador to Kira City. The Mypedians would get the water as the underworld saw no loss to it, and to maintain a stable water flow they had Isolde be given a Mypedian whetstone which would allow him to channel moisture and use it to produce more and more water. The creature seemed excited by the prospect. This is very clever. Debsar said as if Naruto's plan worked his people would have had more water and the Shakri Flats could possibly have restored life as Nadrin offered to come to Sopjek aid as Nadrin himself had some training in healing and caretaker skills. How did you find out about the water anyway? He asked, wondering how Naruto knew. Well, I have been here before in chaotic becoming Isolde. He travels in the water like it's his own highway. he can exist outside of it and fly, but when I was going through it, he knew of some underwater pathways and I found he knew of water just sitting there. Naruto said to him, but not telling him what else was down there, bones of Mypedians and Danians. It was a graveyard. Unda agreed to filter the water of contaminants and was going to make sure that the bones got a respectful burial down there. Thank you, for helping my people and my lands, Naruto Uzumaki. Vebsar said to him in gratitude. Thank me by restoring life to that desert. Naruto said, porting out of there. Mudinu's castle. Naruto wondered why Mudinu wanted to see him, and when he ported in, he had to dodge as he was attacked by a yellow Mypedian, Marquis Daraini. He thought as Cristela, while an underworld player did like Mypedian scans as well, she had him in her team, as apparently he gave them 5 additional attack damage. Enough. Mudinu said, stopping them from killing each other. Naruto, I invited you here as I need you to confirm something for me. Did you maim Van Blut? He asked him as Naruto nodded. Impressive, he said to him. Him? Daraini asked in shock. Van Blut and I have made dealings in the past. Mudinu said to him. Yeah, he was planning to double-cross you and stab you in the back when you weren't looking. Naruto said to him. Mudinu wasn't going to ask how he knew that, as that sounded completely accurate. So what, did Van Blut do something? Naruto asked as he personally maimed him and broke his DMN wings. Going to do something, do you know of the former overworlder Slurk? Mudinu asked him, getting a nod. Van Blut has made a deal with him and now Slurk is going to try and poison our water, he said bitterly. I know he's a scorpion, but can he actually do that? I mean, he can't have that much venom. Naruto asked him. And you'd be right, but Van Blut gave Slurk a weapon. He gave him a altered nexus fuse. Mudinu said, looking to Daraini, who brought one out. All the tribes have them, but they are unstable and act as bombs. He said to them, the one Van Blut gave him will poison the waters. Slurk is crazy and dangerous all on his own, but with aid of someone like Van Blut, he said, not willing to risk the new hope they had gotten. He's probably making a power move. Naruto said, explaining Van Blut's situation to him. Killing off a tribe might give him the respect of more vile some in the underworld and restore his dignity. Mudinu said to him. We can kill him. Naruto said, as Slurk was a madman. He's heard the rumors and he had even attacked Kin'in on many occasions. He was wanted by his own clan, and he was planning to kill an entire tribe because of stupidity. I shall take you to my armory. Mudinu said to him. Few minutes later. Oh, I am definitely coming back here. Naruto thought as he scanned the inside of the armory. He was impressed by the door, very deadly. Even when answered correctly, it still had a trap to it. Here, a pyro blaster. Mudinu said to him, tossing him the weapon. Modified or not, the nexus fuse is still explosive. Take it out before it hits the water, he said to him. Why are you asking me to do this? Naruto asked him curiously. My forces are divided at the moment, reshaping the lands to hold more water and create pathways. Mudinu said to him as he was short on options. Say no more. Naruto said to him. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 5. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.